Should hip hop be viewed as a culture that artists have to remain connected to, or is it simply another musical style that anyone can step into whenever it fits for their next project? And I think this question, what makes it different from other genres?
I think that, look, there have been, like DMC, from Run DMC, when he did his solo record, he stepped out and did some records, I want to say with Sarah McLachlan, what I'm saying? Like he did he got a chance to do something that was not particular Run DMC-ish.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even
Arms of an Angel?
Yeah.
Sarah McLachlan?
Yeah, I think so. I want to, yeah.
You mean like the animals are dying?
Yeah.
He's stupid.
Kids need a quarter to survive that day.
And so I don't want to immediately dismiss anybody that decides to try something new. I mean, you've seen...
He's talking about pioneers that try something new as well.
This is true.
See.
This is true. I mean, but honestly, when you talk about someone like Ice-T, he's been more body count than he has been hip hop. So he's been doing hardcore speed thrash metal, the past 25 years, as more than he has, been making hip hop records. And I don't. It's just always the thing of like when white artists. I remember there were people who didn't feel like when Everlast came back out. Remember when Whitey Ford sings the blues? Yeah. I remember when Everlast was doing records with Ice-T.
Yeah.
And he was just a straight rhymer. But I understand why maybe it's different when you're white. When you grow out of certain things, you express yourself differently. I mean, but at the same time, I can also look at Queen Latifah going from doing, Wrath of My Madness to the Dana Owens album where she does the jazz standards.
Right.
I'm not saying that people can't evolve and grow, but it's just also the optics of white people coming in, dipping their hands in, and they get to do the dances and wear the Jordans and the gold teeth. And then when they grow out of it, they can almost turn themselves into somebody else.
Yeah.
And then they can say, oh, that was just a phase and never go back to it.
Yeah, that's the part I have a problem with because, I mean, even hip hop in itself, hip hop isn't the one identifier of like just black culture in general.
No.
So like that's where I kind of want to draw the line because every time we talk about hip hop, it's almost like
black.
Definitely. But hip hop actually is an embodiment of a lot of different genres as well. Now, when you talk about how certain people were raised and just to get into something because you thought it was cool or because the cool kids was doing it and then you dabble in it like that, that's kind of different. That goes to like what you were saying. You play with it for a while and now you're like Andy on Toy Story and you want to throw that shit away. You don't want to mess with it no more. There's a difference between living it, being a part of it, and just visiting it for, right now, so you can look cool, essentially. That's the thing I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with people that try different forms of music because you don't have to just listen to hip hop. I don't think anybody in this room only listens to hip hop.
Nope.
So you can't say that you are only influenced by that. But in the same token, you have to kind of be involved in it or kind of understand what we mean by you can't jump in and jump out being a certain type of way.
Let me ask you this. Let's dive deeper into this.
I want to answer the
Go
question
ahead.
real quick.
Don't forget your...
It's part of that, but go ahead.
I think the difference between the two is authenticity. Hip hop is supposed to be the one genre where you're expected to be living your raps. You know what I mean? Everything you rapping about, you're supposed to be living that life. And that's not the case with any of these other genres. You know what I mean? They have writers, et cetera, et cetera. Like hip hop, it's supposed to be authentic to your experience and you are supposed to be selling that to your audience.
That's true, but I think the same is true with even vibey jazz artists. They live a certain lifestyle.
Ain't no words to that though.
Rock and roll, they live a certain lifestyle. I think other genres have a lifestyle that they are kind of true to, but the thing about when you talk about hip hop has become the identifier for some reason. And I always talk about how I hate that they always use hip hop as the identifier for anything black. It doesn't matter what it is. Oh, they're being hip hop. Essentially mean you're calling them black. And that's where I don't like how hip hop has pretty much just been bastardized and commercialized so vastly. We embody more than just hip hop as a culture. Is bigger than that. And like, again, hip hop is a mixing pot of a lot of different genres of music that created hip hop. I mean, it was created from jazz and rock and, you know what I'm saying, samples essentially. James Brown is a hip hop influencer essentially because he was rapping and shit and dancing.
Creator.
Yeah, exactly. Cab Calloway. These are originators of, but they are from different genres. Hip hop is not just
boom bap,
or it's not just this particular type of black person. You know what I'm saying?
Struggle.
I feel like all music tells a story of somebody's background essentially, and hip hop is just not the identifier for only black. Well, it's from black, but it's not the identifier of a certain type of black experience. So
that's it. A certain type of black.
Correct.
Go ahead, Lone. What you were gonna say?
I don't remember exactly.
I'm sorry. I fucked that up.
You're good. No, you're good. I think it's more so. I want you guys to talk more about the reason why it's problematic, though, right? And more specifically, because you never see the issue when a black artist dabbles in rock and roll and then comes to hip hop and then goes back, or country and then goes back and forth. It's always specifically hip hop, and obviously I understand why, but I want you guys to speak further on this, on why specifically there's contentiousness around when artists do it specifically within hip hop, and it's somebody that's like white. Let's be specific, or anybody who isn't, you know.
I want to go back to his example of Queen Latifah, because she was playing with other sounds in her records, like on Black Rain.
Yeah.
Coming to My House was on Black Rain. Record. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that was something completely different. I didn't with it. You know what I mean? I loved UNITOI. I loved Just Another Day.
She sang on those records.
I loved Just Another Day, but when I heard Come Into My House, it was a completely different sound that I was used to hearing from Queen Latifah.
Yeah, but people aren't contentious over the fact that she's doing that. Right? If I start off by doing that, or Everlast starts off by doing that, and then he goes over and does this rock record over here, and then he comes back, where's that contentiousness come from?
Well, it comes from you can take it back to Pat Boone. All right, when he was jumping in and basically redoing Little Richard records, and then he gets to do his version of R&B records. He gets all the credit and makes the money, and then when we try to be like, well, what about this? What about the originators? It's like, whatever. There is a lot, you can, if you want to update the formula, it's like, wait a minute, you're looking at New Kids on the Block do basically what, updated the kit on New Edition, and we're like, well, come on. And it's not that they don't have the right to do it or they can't do it, but it's just like we've had to watch over decades to see white artists be able to involve themselves with what is traditionally thought of as black art, receive the credit, receive the money, and then once it's not as popular anymore, whatever genre that they were involving themselves in, they can always whiten up the formula and still go get the money, while what they were, I don't want, if what they were influenced by, I won't even say by stealing from, what they were influenced by is still stuck over here. And we still have to find a way to make our money by doing what they were influenced by, but now they're on the other side of town getting money because it's just not as popular right now.
So from this perspective, the people making this argument, which I would even consider myself, probably everybody at this table, the argument is always simultaneously that most genres are essentially founded and created by black artists. Yeah. Is that pretty safe to say for the most part? Country music, rock music.
Country music, rock, electronic, house music.
As we continue to go, right?
Yes.
So we have white people in general who can exist within this. If white people didn't originate anything music-wise, Where is the place for white people in art
I think the issue is when
in relation to this conversation?
in this conversation, I think the issue is when they jump over into this lane, like they say they start out this one way, they jump into this lane, and then they condemn the very thing that they came from.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But somebody like Everlast is not condemning it, right? He's just changing genres, but he still catches the flack for it, right?
I don't know if he really caught the flack for it. I don't, or maybe I just don't remember that time because, like I said, Whitey Ford Sings the Blues is a good 20 years old.
That title sounds
as a white person.
That sounds crazy. Yeah,
as a white person that has witnessed this, every single white person that I've ever seen that has crossed genres has caught flack from somebody.
So
in that particular type of way.
let me. So
Right, and I just want to pose the question.
Yeah,
like,
I know exactly. I think it's more so of the identifying factor. So like, it's one thing to, not to speak for you or white people in general, it's one thing to be a part of a musical upbringing or influenced by certain music. And it's another thing to not have any influence in this and only use it as a springboard versus you actually love what you're doing. Because if you did, it wouldn't be an issue or a situation to where you would denounce it, so to speak, after you get a certain level of fame. It's I'm too good for that now. It's a difference when an artist embodies different genres and, you know, they might are looking for different sound. I mean, all great artists do that. We give Drake grief because he sounds weird doing these Afro beats and talking in different styles and things of that nature, but he's Drake. He's kind of corny when he does it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any problem with people doing the music. It's more so using it because you know it's going to just sell records.
I'll tell you who's somebody who does it. It's not a white artist. It's somebody that does it frequently and they do a very good job, but it's, in my opinion, that's Snoop.
He does it.
Snoop dances all over the place and he'll sing.
That's why he's the most recognized rap figure in the world.
Yeah.
Sure. But also Snoop doesn't, again, to the point, Snoop gets no criticism for that, right?
Yeah.
But Lone, I think my takeaway from this, Terry made a good point about certain types of black people, if you will, and people always associating things with hip hop, right? And I'm looking at it from a hip hop standpoint, where the culture has always been associated with across the board, blacks,
sure,
Hispanics, like that's literally what it is. So as I look at other genres, I'm like, which genre is that heavy into it where it's 100% this race? Or you can't say that about jazz. You can't say that about, can you say it about rock? I don't know. Maybe that's subjective. It's all subjective, but hip hop is so associated with blackness and black culture. I think that's where, no matter who comes in and out, I think that's where it comes from. I don't know if there are other genres that are that heavy culturally or racially. I don't know if we can compare like that.
The thing about it is hip hop, everybody's at this point has listened to hip hop, whether you're into it or not. And you can tell the nuances and the people that aren't really into the culture like that. You know, it's just like you said, some people are putting on the act, or they're just using it as a way to be popular now. Those are the type of people I have a problem with. Like even with what's his name, Jack Harlow's last album, I didn't have a problem with him doing that. He didn't have to do all the hats and shit like that. But I mean, I don't have a problem with people exploring their musical interests, because your musical interests essentially are a part of you. Right. You can tell when it's not genuine. It's like, I'm just doing this. I mean, when we're talking about Post Malone. Before Post Malone made White Iverson, he was on some ukulele type shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you went from doing that to, okay, I know this is gonna sell records, so I'm gonna put on this Iverson jersey. I'm gonna get some braids to the back. I'm gonna put on the outfit. Those are the type of people I have a problem with. It's not. Excuse me. I don't find it. You know what I'm saying? Deem it bad for white artists to be influenced by black culture and black music, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's American culture. We all live on this same plane and we all consume the same things. Some people grow up this way and hear things this way, and you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's a mixing pot essentially.
I think it was something that you said that really kind of struck me, where you said some folks are just using hip hop as a springboard.
Mhm.
Okay, so they get into the game. It's like they use hip hop as a little stimulus package, and then they go into doing who they really are.
Yeah.
Which is what I feel like where Post Malone is. Like you said, there's video, he's doing a little ukulele and the country infused whatever, but the first look I've heard of him was White Iverson, which isn't anything close to really what he does now on a regular basis, and that's kind of what makes it feel weird, if you will. It's not that, maybe he really is exploring, his musical interest, but then it's just like there was a lot of Post Malone's a weird example because of a lot of the things he said after.
Exactly. But the real question is, what if the ukulele shit and what he's doing now is who he was all along?
I feel like that's who he is. That's who he is.
It's just he signed his label deal, and that's the costume they put him in.
I'm just
he could be manipulated in a way, just like a lot of folks are. I remember, when the Beastie Boys, like there's this one picture of them after they came to Def Jam, and it's like they had on like just their Adidas suits, like they put on their rapper outfits, and basically Russell Simmons was like, "This is not who I signed, so go put on the shit that you had on before, because that's who you actually are. Like you trying to dress up like Run DMC is not going to get it."
I'm just circling back to the why, bro. And I just really believe that hip hop's culture is so it's always been so pro-black that no matter who it is that jumps in and out, they're always going to get flack for making that decision because of how hip hop has always been perceived. I just don't think that's ever going to change.
Well,
I really don't. I don't think it's going to change. No matter if it's right or wrong, it's just always been looked at as this is black culture. And whoever comes in and comes out, we don't care what Eminem is cold. He got flack. It doesn't matter who comes in and out because of how culturally how hip hop is looked at and how it's perceived. I think that's the reason.
But
I really think that's the reason.
See, all right. So you mentioned Eminem,
right?
Everybody loved Eminem at one point in time.
Yeah.
But when the older I've become, the less those records stick to me. It's because
you've grown.
I've grown, and when I listen to those records, a lot of those records somewhat, it was like he was trying to sell me white struggle. You know what I mean? Like stuff that he was going through pretty much.
My argument is
I want to hear that
let
shit.
me finish that. Hold on. Because I kind of got a pushback on that. Because,
I do too.
Because, okay, they selling white struggle. Because, I mean, a lot of rap is black struggle.
I can relate.
You can relate specifically,
yeah,
right. But
so
like,
I'm just speaking to me.
Eminem could have been rapping about trap houses when he came out. There still was going to be flack because he's white. Coming into black culture.
I prefer Eminem rapping exactly how he raps.
I agree.
Because he's never switched up. That's the thing about M. M has never switched up to a point where you can point the finger at, aha, I got you. You came in and used this shit. His history
wasn't a springboard for him.
His history is in hip hop, and he stayed true to hip hop. He was just a Jay-Z shit a couple weeks ago. So those type of artists, I don't have any problem with. It's the people that you know are putting on an outfit for the moment just to get the cash grab and then move on.
I think there's also a thing where we've hip hop has been so welcoming, and sometimes that welcoming where we're like, come on in, you can do this too. Like, let's go ahead and everybody can have a good time, and then we get burned by it. Like when like I said, when Post Malone feels like, I'm sorry, we're jumping on Post Malone, but it is what it is. You've made these
no, that's all right.
You felt like you could speak on the culture in a way where you were not qualified to do so.
Because he wasn't, he didn't know enough about the culture to know that what he was saying was 100% bullshit.
But then when you talk about also getting burned, here comes Kid Rock going out to Oakland, making records with Too Short and Torn and trying to have a high top fade with the Aquanet or whatever he was using. And then we fast forward to him now, he shoot Bud Lights in his backyard with Confederate flag on his back.
Jump in, Long.
One, black culture and hip hop culture are not the same thing, but hip hop culture is foundationally black.
Right.
And what has kind of come out in this conversation, and from my perspective, is is essentially, nobody said it exactly, but because hip hop is foundationally black from that perspective, that when you are a white person in that space and you are not foundationally black, you are stepping into a space that you are not necessarily a part of, or a culture that is not necessarily yours, right? And so there's nothing necessarily wrong with, you know, being a part of it, doing the things that you want to do, creating the music you want to make. You can make jazz music, you can make hip hop music, you can make whatever, you can make ukulele music, whatever the hell that is. You can do all these different things. You can do whatever you want to do, but it's also about how you move within it and
how versed
how you speak on it, how much you respect the thing that you're a part of, which is interesting because the culture that we're in right now, 2026, I will stand by the fact that people do not care about art. And so, which is an interesting thing, not just white people, everybody.
Period.
And, you know, there is an additional dynamic there to where, I don't think there's like, I think we would all agree there's nothing wrong with Post Malone coming in and doing stuff and then going doing other stuff. I don't care. It's whatever. It's kind of like, it's like your actions around it in that particular type of way. If I want to stop making hip hop music, if I want to stop, you know, producing records, if I want to stop talking about hip hop tomorrow, it's going to be looked at differently than if Terry says he's going to stop doing that tomorrow off top. And there's nothing you can and nothing you can really do about that. There's nothing that I can do about that. Doesn't mean that my contributions over the last 25 years or whatever or anything necessarily diminished, but I'm going to be looked at in a very particular way. That was a guest that came into it, and then I walked away from that guest. Whereas because it's foundationally black culture, Terry, it won't affect him in the same type of way as it would me. Let's say we're the same person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think it's the why you walked away where that would be the issue more or less than like if you just came and said, you know what, I'm kind of over it. I think I've kind of outgrown it. Like I don't think nobody would look at you no type of way.
I think they would too. I think they would too.
Because he said, I mean, that's the thing. When you think about hip hop, you think about it just being black. Like I can decide that certain hip hop music doesn't reflect my life right now, and I don't necessarily listen to it. Let's say I decided that I was done with it and I'm turning my life over to Christ, so to speak, you know, and no hip hop is involved with it, but I'm hip hop by association regardless. Like anything that would happen, even from the way I dress, won't change.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The way I talk won't necessarily change. It's just my musical soundtrack would change versus somebody.
Your choice of music.
Correct. Versus somebody that may have gotten in it specifically just for the soundtrack and didn't identify with it deeper than that, I guess. I don't know.
It's just the music level as opposed to a cultural level. They didn't dive into the cultural aspect of what hip hop is as opposed to just the surface level making rap music or whatever.
Yeah.
It would be different. Like if you stopped producing records and stopped, you know, podcasting about hip hop and you said, or you know what, I'm going to start talking about the Lumineers, like not to pick on them, but and I'm going to start making music that is genre bending, but it's going to be like hey, and whatever the Soggy Bottom Boys were doing, like, and the updated kit for that, and that's what we're going to do going forward. Like it would feel like, well, what facilitated that? And you can say, oh, you know, because that's the thing. A lot of people say, well, I kind of grew out of it, but when you're talking about something that is, you know, when black people talk about it, it was like. It is something that is so attached to black culture. It's like, well, I don't get to just grow out of being black or the black experience. Like, and a lot of times that's what we feel like we hear from some of our white compatriots in hip hop is they say, I'm not only just growing out of this music and this culture, but I'm growing out of wanting to be connected to the black experience in the way that has paid me money.
Right. And then double down and say that hip hop is stupid or I don't know why, you know, that type of situation.
Yeah, like if you could grow out of it and still dress like you do, you don't have to change.
It's still kind of embedded in you regardless.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
my thing
like
is,
if you say I outgrew it and then you stop wearing t-shirts and jeans and kicks regular, you start wearing Dockers and
that's what I do.
Polos and stuff on the regular, whatever.
I wear basketball shorts and wear the I want to
that's what I'm saying.
That's what I used to care about wearing shoes and all that stuff. I don't give a knows. I don't know about fashion.
No.
But I'm just saying, like,
That's
But
still
that's
hip
part
hop
of it.
though. That's just what I'm saying. That's still hip hop to the like even what you got on right now.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like
is whoever comes in is going to get what Lone is talking about. I don't care if the exit strategy and how you exit never going to be as impactful as when you initially came into the culture and how people looked at you. I don't care who it is. That's just what I believe. There's going to be flack. It's just based off history and what I've seen. There's going to be some form of flack whenever somebody crosses over into the genre. It's common sense to me. Like, it's going to happen. Fair or foul, it's going to happen.
I think a lot of it is fair, but there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of, I don't know if contentious is the right word necessarily, but I see it on a regular basis. You know, even in comments last week, there's 100, 200 comments on one clip.
See,
just because I said Jay-Z wants to be liked by the culture. What is wrong with that statement? Jay-Z does want to be liked by the culture.
but what were they saying?
They're
Shut your
reading,
white ass up.
Yeah, see,
but they're reading more into that. Like, well, who are you to say what Jay-Z is supposed to be like that? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was setting up the narrative of where I was
They
going
didn't
with.
know.
But
They didn't see that.
all they saw was the white guys talking.
Sure. And I guess what I'm saying is that is a protective nature that comes out in this as well from people within the culture. And a lot of times even people, it even goes beyond just the culture of hip hop, because hip hop is, again, in my opinion, and I think you guys probably agree, I don't know who would disagree, it is foundationally black.
100%.
Yeah.
And so even if you aren't necessarily as ingrained into the culture as somebody like myself, you could still deem yourself as more versed to speak on things within the culture simply because you
The
are
fact that people can look up and do research and see who you are and how
Don't expect people to do all
It
that.
doesn't matter.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying
It doesn't
I
matter.
don't expect that. What I'm saying is the fact that
they all called y'all got called names too.
that's cool.
Yeah,
but what I'm
that
saying
happens
is
all
the
the
fact
time.
that they
Yeah.
can do that research.
That's
and
not gonna happen.
And validate. I'm not saying they're doing that. What I'm saying is it's available. And for them to still jump out the window without doing that makes my point that it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're still going to be chastised regardless. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Fairly or fair or unfair. That's
Yeah.
it.
It doesn't
Like
really,
you get it a lot, bro. It's unfair, but
I mean, I have a whole thesis and a whole thing that I kind of want to do and I kind of don't at the same time.
do it.
Based around black supremacy and hip hop.
You talking about viral, bro? Like,
I don't think I'm going to because I've formulated in my head in comparison to white supremacy in the United States and the world versus black supremacy within hip hop because I'm the minority.
just have
within it.
Jackson sit beside you and eat popcorn while you
It
talk.
will never.
Perfect.
But the thing is, I guess, getting a little too sidetracked. It would never go over well. Number one,
No, I wouldn't.
regardless of how well I did it. But the thing is like, I say all this to go back to the point about Post Malone and to highlight the point, not necessarily to black people who are watching, but more so the white people that are potentially watching that get hung up on this issue on a regular basis, that are fans of hip hop, that are fans of these artists that don't like to see this stuff happen. Look, I read all the comments and I was just like, all right, there was a time where that really would have pissed me off and really would have made me super upset, but it's just like, I get where it's coming from. I understand all these things, but there's still a lot of people that don't fully understand where that's coming from. And I think it's important to understand the different levels of, it's not the same as like, it's nuanced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
The culture is a lot vaster and bigger now than even when I talk about hip hop and you saying hip hop and it meaning this one thing. The culture is so big right now that it is an American art form that more than one culture, so to speak, has, you know what I'm saying, contributed to and has lived and, you know what I'm saying, and continue to live versus I'm practicing being cool and that's the only reason that I'm using this and then I'm pivoting.
But do
and
you even
moving
care
on.
about the practicing being cool part? Isn't it more just about, is it really about the coolness factor of it?
No.
Nah,
I think-
mean, I don't care about it, so to speak, but it's like,
It just comes across as like,
yeah, it just
lame.
comes across as super lank. Like I even remember back in the day, MC Hammer is the one outliner that I can remember that more white folks start liking, and I knew what type of person this person was that like can't touch this.
This is more palatable.
Versus, you know what I'm saying? The Pantera and all the shit you wearing Pantera shirts and you love can't touch this. You just like the song, and you might go do the dance at a freaking talent show at school because you know girls are gonna like it. But that's the only reason that you fucked with that song. It wasn't a matter of you had an awakening and now you wanted to kind of, you know what I'm saying, learn a little bit more about black culture. It was only that song, essentially.
That's true.
Well,
I think
like
that's
even
true.
in school, I had a teacher, my ethnic studies teacher was a white man. And he was very versed in culture. I mean, even when you walked into his room, he had that iconic poster of the black man and black woman playing tug of war with the American flag.
Oh, okay.
He had a whole bunch of that type shit in his classroom. And I remember when I first walked in there and I'm like, why is this dude teaching ethnic studies?
Sure.
And then once I got to know, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense that he's teaching ethnic studies because he understands. He's not just doing this as I'm just here to get money. They told me I got to teach ethnic studies. You could tell he all this shit meant something to him, and he could back it up. And it's like, okay, he lives exactly what he's talking about. He's not faking the funk. So I understand as far as somebody being culturally involved and culturally adjacent just to be popular.
Well, you know, I think what's really crazy is like there are people who are 15, 20, maybe 25 years younger than me, and they're like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this isn't even an argument that registers with them, or a conversation that registers with them. They're just like, oh, I like Post Malone. Yeah. I like this. I liked that song when he was doing that. I liked that song when he was doing that. There are a couple of songs I didn't care for, and I moved on. I think, like I said, it comes from a place where you've seen this story so many times. That's where it resonates with me, where I've seen not only in hip hop, but just in R&B, within jazz, where all of a sudden, you know, there are all these jazz artists doing something, but all of a sudden it's like, hey, check out Kenny G, and not to pick on him, but it's just like, okay, we have all this over here, and that's what you resonate with.
It's the society of America that seeps into it.
Yeah, but then there are people who are like, well, I like Kenny G. You know, and there's not a cultural maliciousness that comes from them liking this, because if you give it a lot, look, you even brought up Hammer. Look, for some people who are dyed in the wool, super duper hip hop fans, Hammer was their introduction to the culture.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing. I'll say the same thing for Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice, somebody saw Vanilla Ice and then they wanted the real thing, and they started doing the research and actually caring and being around, you know.
But it took work. It was more than just you like that song for the moment to be cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just putting on the outfit for a certain amount of time for Halloween, dressing up for it, and then hanging it in the closet the next day. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
All right, man. Somebody last word so we can get out of here. One of y'all.
I wanted to say this too.
There we go.
Part of the culture is we hold it near and dear to our hearts. Since we embody it, we're part of it. So when we feel like somebody is not sincere about what they're doing, it rubs us the wrong way. And that's pretty much how people kind of gauge if this person is sincere, or are they doing it because they love it, or are they doing it just because. And I think that's a lot of the nuance thing and pushback that happens when it comes to white artists hopping into hip hop and then just being like, okay, I'm off of that right now, I'm on this.
I like that.